name's Alex Walton and you're watching my interview on Actor's Voice for Occhi magazine. So I've been sent a few questions, so we'll fire away straight away, I guess. You recently completed filming Night Thoughts, which was a feature-long music video for the band Suede, written and directed by Roger Sargent. Can you tell us about the movie? Yes, I can. Basically it's an hour-long music video spanning across the whole breadth of their latest album, Night Thoughts, and they basically played it as a film to the backdrop of their live performances. It was a brilliant experience to kind of work without any dialogue, which was really nice because it kind of freed you up and it allowed you to really kind of explore what the character does. Did you use a person or situation to draw from your role? Without giving too much away, I mean, the main character loses a son, and then has to come to terms with losing a son, and his whole life generally unravels throughout the course of the film. So it's very difficult to kind of draw on personal experiences, because I've never had children, never drawn on that as such. But I have gone through loss, and I did draw on that, as any actor generally would do. If you've been through something, you kind of use it to whatever you can for whatever job that you're going for. So those elements definitely were drawn into that, and you kind of envisage who you lost in place of who the character loses. Could you tell our readers why they should watch it? I think it's got a fantastic narrative. I mean, the soundtrack itself has been sort of depicted as one of Suede's greatest works so far, apart from Dog Star Man. So it's very much, the soundtrack is phenomenal, but even if you watch it without the soundtrack, it's a very emotive piece. It kind of goes on a proper journey. The editing is absolutely fantastic, and it's very fast paced but yet very emotional as well. I think it's something that stands alone as a film, as well as a music video and an accompaniment piece. It's fantastic in that sense as well, so it's definitely worth checking out. Having trained at Rose Bruford, what acting technique are you most fond of, method or Meisner, and why? My drama school period wasn't massively dedicated, should we say, because I had loads of stuff going on in my personal life, where my mum wasn't very well, so I couldn't really concentrate at drama school, so I didn't really take as much out of it as I wanted to. Now, with regards to Meisner and method, I think they both have elements that I draw on when I approach a character or approach a role. I think before I go on stage or before I go on screen, I implement the method process, really kind of trying to get into the character. But then once you get onto set and you get onto stage, for me personally, I have to really be in that moment. I have to be listening to what the other person's saying, which is a very heavy element of Meisner. So it's kind of a combination of the two. Is what works for me, and obviously every actor is very different, and I would never try to presume that one is better than the other, but it just depends upon what you need to call upon to get to where you need to get to. Do you ever mix the techniques? Yes. Preparation for me, method elements, execution, Meisner methods, I think. I guess that's the way that I would say that I use them both. We've read that you continually perfect your craft by attending workshops. Why is this important for an actor to continue training? I'm going to coin a phrase that so many sort of practitioners have used in the past. It's like using any muscle. You have to keep doing what you're doing. You have to keep going out there. You have to keep doing short films. You have to do workshops. You have to do read-throughs with friends around their houses where you just go through a text. You have to do table reads. Anything that you can do to hone your skills. You find a new way of saying a line. You find a new inflection of putting in a character. You understand somebody a little bit more if you work on them. And I think workshops and meetups and classes and things like that are a great way to people watch, so that you can see the characteristics of individual people. Plus you learn skills from others as well. They tell you how they approach the character and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that before. So, and then you implement that in yours. So I think acting is definitely an organic process that you can't say, right, this is the way that I do it, this is the way that I do it, and you don't venture from anywhere else. You kind of draw on everything that you've experienced in life, training, whatever. What have you learned from the workshops? literally confidence. Getting up there, doing it, throwing yourself into it, not caring if anybody's right or wrong. It's the place to make mistakes, and it's the place where you can be really brave. And if you get something wrong, you get something wrong. Doesn't matter. If you get something right, then you hold on to it, and it's only in those places where you can feel really safe to be able to let yourself go. Has it helped your career? Yes. Currently you're starring in the critically acclaimed From Ibiza to the Norfolk Broads, written and directed by Adrian Berry. Your role has been highly praised. Thank you. Tell us about your most fond experiences. In the preparation for the role, I mean in the play, I play 9 different characters. So I play the narrator, the main protagonist, his mum, shopkeeper, his dad, various different characters that on the run up to it, during the rehearsal process and the R&D process, we spent a lot of time just being in Camden, in Soho, Westminster, various different places where I could just literally watch people, watch their body language, watch the way that they interact with everybody else. Those little subtleties that you kind of see in a person that you're like, ah, so he raises his eyebrow there, and that was the most enjoyable bit for me, just kind of wandering around London, not having a care in the world, just absorbing everything that's going on in the city, and then taking that onto the stage and bringing elements of that was really an exciting and fun thing to do. It's an emotional story centred on a most beloved music icon, David Bowie. The main character is battling obsession and hidden truths. How did you flesh out and give life to the Martin character? I think to really kind of get into Martin, I think I kind of had to you have to make yourself much more vulnerable. I think people with obsessions, and Martin has an eating disorder, I think there's a vulnerability about him that you really need to capture. If you capture that and the kind of fear that he has of the outside world, and you kind of bring that on stage, then the rest of it just kind of falls into place. Did you use any personal experience to inhabit the language and actions of the character? Yeah, just touching on what I mentioned at the beginning of the interview. The reason that I didn't concentrate solely at drama school was because my mum was passing away. There are elements of my history that I can really draw on for that role, and in a weird kind of twisted way, it's almost a benefit that I can kind of get there and I've experienced it. Not in a, because I wish to God that she was back, but it does mean I can kind of put myself in that situation a little bit more. I can kind of remember the room that I was in, I can remember the feelings that I had, I can see the views that I saw as soon as it happened, and bringing those back and reliving those helps get to a point where you need to get to in play. Are there any roles you would love to play after the play ends, and why? Yes, Iago, he's amazing. I think he's the most intricate, complicated and beautifully formed Shakespearean character that has ever been written. He is so clever and conniving and articulate, and the way that he explains things and the way that he manipulates people around him is just I don't know, I'm not saying it's a trait that is a good trait to have, but it's a fantastic trait to be able to play with. As more actors are expanding their portfolio through film production, have you considered venturing into this area? Yes, yeah, I've considered it. I've written a short film which is just at script stage at the moment. I mean, I think we're on to our 8th version of the script, so it's like it's a constant, or sort of. What is your most inspirational role and why? For me, the Joker. I think it's the one character that there's had so many different takes on it. It was Cesar Romero, Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, obviously, Jared Leto. Each one has taken a completely different take on that character and given it a completely different way of life, and each one is respected in its own way, and there are only a certain amount of characters that can do that. I think Iago is one that can do that as well. You can take it in many different ways. Do you have any funny bloopers to share? I don't think so. There aren't many projects where I've got the full rushes. It's mainly just been the end product that I've got, so unfortunately not, other than a few from this, but anyway. Can you share any new acting projects you're working on? There's a couple of things in the pipeline which I'm currently talking about, but nothing has been announced yet, so can't delve too much into those, but some very exciting things. What advice would you give aspiring actors on creating a show reel? No montage. Just go straight into it, maybe a title scene with your contact details or spotlight or whatever you have, and then just go straight into a scene with you talking. What's next in your career? Well, straight after this tour, which finishes on the 27th of February, I'm going straight into production with a director called Ian Tierney for a film called Through the Scope, which is very exciting, so looking forward to doing that. That's going to be out later on in the year, so keep an eye out for that one as well. And that's pretty much it. So, so thank you very much for your interest in my interview on Occhi magazine. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to do it. If you want any more information on the show that I'm doing, it's fromibiza.net. So if you're in the UK or maybe even in America, then maybe that's something that you can see. But yeah, check it out, and thank you for watching.